It turns out that even after 30 years of continuous dues increases, nearly tripling monthly dues and costing homeowners over $420,000 in total, the HOA's reserve fund still never reaches full funding. It maxes out at only 89.25%.
Really? That's wild. So after all that money, they still can't fully fund the reserves?
Exactly. And that's the kicker. Decades of rising dues, but no real financial stability. Homeowners are locked into paying more and more. Yet the risk of special assessments and deferred maintenance just keeps hanging over their heads.
Wow, that's a huge deal. So what's behind this? Why does the math not add up?
Well, by the end of this episode, you'll understand the hidden math behind these HOA reserve funding failures, why having no plan is actually worse than having a bad plan, and how homeowners can finally gain real oversight to protect themselves.
Sounds like a must know for anyone involved in HOA governance or living in one. Let's unpack this.
So Terry Bontemps took a deep dive into his HOA's 2025-2026 budget. The old board had this glide path for dues increases, starting with 10%, then 8, 5, 3, and finally 2% annually over 30 years.
Okay, so a decreasing rate of increase over time. That sounds reasonable on the surface.
Right, but here's the thing. The monthly dues start at $591, and by year 30, they hit $1,661. When you multiply each year's monthly dues by 12 and sum it all up, the total dues paid over 30 years for a one-bedroom unit comes to about $420,825.
That's a staggering amount. But what about the actual increase? Is it just the sum of those percentages?
That's where it gets interesting. The nominal annual increases 10, 8, 5, and so on don't tell the full story. Because of compounding, the real cumulative increase is 181.05%. So dues nearly triple, not just double.
Ah, the compounding effect. It's like interest on a loan. Small percentages add up exponentially over time.
Exactly. And yet, despite this massive increase in dues, the reserve fund only reaches 89.25% funded after 30 years. It never hits full funding. That's a structural flaw baked right into the old board's plan.
So the glide path was mathematically incapable of closing the funding gap?
Precisely. It's like aiming for a target, but your trajectory is off. You keep getting closer, but never actually land on it.
So what was wrong with the old board's plan beyond just the math?
Well, the old board at least had a 30-year reserve funding model with that glide path and a target to reach 89.25% funding. But that target itself was insufficient.
Meaning they never planned to fully fund the reserves?
Right. The reserve deficit was never fully corrected. Homeowners paid more and more dues, but the association remained underfunded. Deferred maintenance was baked into the plan, which means future liabilities just kept growing. And the risk of special assessments never went away.
So it looked responsible on paper, but in reality, it was a slow march toward financial instability.
Exactly. The plan gave an illusion of progress, but mathematically, it was doomed to fall short.
And then the new board comes in and what happens?
The new board basically abandoned any 30-year plan altogether. They reused stale reserve study numbers from the previous year without updating funding models, component costs, or percent funded calculations.
That sounds like a recipe for disaster.
It is. The 2026-2027 budget explicitly states deferral of repairs, meaning they knowingly defer maintenance, which increases future costs and special assessment risks.
And what about their funding status?
They're only 38.13% funded now, down from 89.25%. Yet they claim no special assessments are anticipated. That's mathematically impossible.
So they're basically misrepresenting the financial reality to homeowners?
Yes, it's a material misrepresentation. Without a plan, no funding trajectory, no disclosure of liabilities or correction timeline, the new board accelerates the community's financial collapse.
This really highlights how untrained volunteer boards can unintentionally, or maybe sometimes negligently, contribute to the national HOA crisis.
Speaking of which, the crisis is huge. 70% of U.S. HOAs are underfunded because boards make 30-year financial decisions without proper plans or training.
And the patterns are consistent, right? Like reusing stale numbers, deferring repairs, underfunding reserves, avoiding special assessments for political reasons.
Exactly. Plus, many boards don't understand percent funded, reserve requirements, cash flow modeling, inflation impact, component life cycles, or liability exposure.
The result is exploding special assessments, failing buildings, collapsing reserves, and homeowners blindsided financially.
It's a systemic failure.
So why do homeowners keep falling into this trap?
There are 7 key blind spots. First, misunderstanding percent funded. Seeing 38% funded might sound like something, but it actually means 62% underfunded, with all the risks that entails.
Right, that's a huge gap most homeowners don't grasp.
Second, inability to read reserve studies. Terms like component life cycle, remaining life, annual allocation, they're opaque. Homeowners assume board approval equals financial health.
Which is a dangerous assumption.
Third, misreading dues increases. Homeowners see small annual increases, like 3.66%, but miss the compounding effect that nearly triples dues over 30 years.
That's a classic cognitive blind spot.
Fourth, not knowing that no plan is worse than a bad plan. The old board's flawed plan at least moved towards stability. The new board's lack of any plan is catastrophic.
So worse than a bad plan is no plan at all.
Fifth, unawareness of the board's lack of training. Boards often don't update reserve studies or understand the math, making uninformed decisions.
That's a big problem. Volunteer boards with zero financial training making complex decisions.
Sixth, unawareness of deferred repairs. Deferral increases future costs and special assessment risk, but homeowners don't know what's deferred or for how long.
And seventh,
Ignorance of legal requirements. California law requires 30-year plans, annual updates, site inspections, and disclosures. But homeowners don't know what boards must do or disclose.
so homeowners default to trusting boards that often don't know the math themselves.
Exactly. The core truth Terry Bontemps excavates is this. Homeowners don't know the math, so they trust the board. But the board doesn't know the math either.
That's the root cause of the national HOA crisis. Without transparency and oversight, underfunding and deferred maintenance continue unchecked.
Which brings us to the breakthrough HOA TrueView.
Right? This tool empowers homeowners to audit their HOA's financial health in under 3 minutes.
It instantly reveals whether the board's 30-year plan is legitimate, the true percent funded status, whether repairs are being deferred, adequacy of reserve contributions, likelihood of special assessments, and whether the HOA is on a collapse trajectory.
So it replaces blind trust with truth, giving homeowners real oversight without needing to master complex math or jargon.
It's the first real consumer protection mechanism in HOA governance history.
So to wrap up, decades of dues increases can still leave HOAs underfunded and homeowners exposed because of flawed or absent plans and lack of transparency.
Untrained volunteer boards and information asymmetry created a national crisis affecting 70% of HOAs.
But now, with tools like HOA TrueView, homeowners can hold boards accountable and prevent collapse.
The revolution is underway. Homeowners no longer need to blindly trust boards. They can verify the math themselves.
And that's the beginning of the end of the national HOA crisis.
Exactly.